I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No. You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
You know, I tried. I tried to have hope this sequel would be better. I tried. You know, when I saw the first film and thought it was just okay, I hoped this sequel would improve and fix what I didn't like. Did they? No. They did the same mistakes again. Yeah, and everyone can be safe, but the PG-13 is because kids play the game. So what? So what if kids play the game? People didn't like the first one was PG-13, so why repeat that again? And sure, maybe there's more scares, but even the scares didn't feel that impactful. So, yeah, because, you know, maybe you could have listened to we want the sequel to be rated R. Why you didn't just do that in the first place? But then again, this is Jason Bum, people. This is Jason Bum, who's known to be an idiot sometimes. And look, if you like this sequel, each their own. If you're a fan of the franchise, each their own. I'm glad you like this sequel. Personally, I think the audience reaction I was with was much more fun than the movie was itself. Because, well, I did like kind of being in a kind of a fun audience that reacted to the references of the games, but I didn't like this movie. Alright? In fact, hold on a second. I will be right back. It's crazy how apparently the independently made Nicolas Cage film Willy's Wonderland does a way better Five Nights at Freddy's movie than any of Jason Bum's films have been combined. But we're 2 minutes in this, you know. This rant is going to be for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Which is once again directed by Emma Tammy. Can't pronounce her last name. It's Emma Tammy, or Tamili. What's the plot of Five Nights at Freddy's 2? So, 1 year's passed since the supernatural nightmare of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The story is about what transpired there have been twisted into a campy local legend, inspiring the town's first ever Fast Fest. Former security guard Mike, once again played by Josh Hutcherson, who I liked as the villain in The Beekeeper, and police officer Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lale, have kept it true from Mike's 11-year-old sister, Abby, played by Piper Rubio, who is concerning the fate of her friends. When Abby sneaks out to reconnect with the four animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, it sets an emotional, terrifying series of events and dark secrets about the origin of Freddy's and unleash a forbidden horror hidden away for decades. So, as my reaction, you all know my thoughts on the first one. The first one wasn't terrible. It was mediocre. But you can tell it's made for fans of the game, who seem to really like it. But being PG-13 just hurt the film a lot for a few people, and it barely had any scares. However, I thought this sequel was going to fix that, despite still being PG-13. And this movie was worse, actually. There were scares, but they weren't enough to save the film, and they weren't scary. They're the same exact Blumhouse scares you're familiar with by this point. The dialogue I also thought was worse. This film was 104 minutes and it felt slower. And hell, for the second, the ending was also fucking stupid. And I'll explain how this movie ends in the finale. That was one of the worst parts of the film. So, how was this film made? So, it was around August 2018 when they were planning the first film. Scott Cawthon said if the first film were successful, there was going to be a second film that follows the second game. And a sequel was revealed to be in development by Josh Hutcherson in January 2024. Then in April 2024, Blumhouse Productions confirmed the sequel, and Jim Henson's Creature Shop would return to design the animatronics for the film. Then in October 2024, Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, Piper Rubio, Matthew Lillard were confirmed to reprise their roles, the latter of whom signed a 3-picture deal with the studios. April 2025, Wayne Knight, McKenna Grace, and Theo Brins joined the cast on undisclosed roles. And Skeet Ulrich, who starred alongside Matthew Lillard in Scream, who was literally just in one scene of the movie, joined the cast in an undisclosed role. Then in October 2025, Kellen Goff, Matthew Patrick were announced to voice Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, who were the animatronics from the second game. And what the part that really just had me grating my teeth the most, who they announced to voice Toy Chica, which I'll announce in a little bit. But after 5 Nights at Freddy's was officially shot and completed, 5 Nights at Freddy's 2, which I meant to say, 5 Nights at Freddy's 2 was shot and completed. It premiered at the TCL Chinese Theater December 2nd of 2025, released in the United States by Universal Pictures on December 5th, 2025, like this weekend, as the time this is recorded, to even worse reviews from critics, but made up to 24 million opening day. And here's the thing, usually I'm one of the people that doesn't pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic these days because those sites are stupid with reviewing films. They are a joke nowadays. Nowadays, I listen to what fans say. I listen to what audiences say. That's the thing, but unfortunately, as much as I would hate to agree with so-called professional critics, there are some that I can actually trust today that reasonably hated this film. Cody Leach and Sean Sandler, even they didn't like this movie. They thought this film sucked too. And there are some of the few professional critics today that I can actually trust. 2 of them. There's some of the only like a months like besides like Round Raffo Speed Communications, Jurassic Godzilla Fan Choice Voice. Even some of my own YouTube pals, Michelle Leon 659 and Cole Warner, them along with Leach and Chandler are the only YouTube critics I trust these days because they're actually still willing to, because even those 2 are still willing to criticize movies that are actually bad. And they're actually right about this film. Even I didn't like this movie either. I know some fans of 5 Nights at Freddy's will like this, and they'll probably disagree with me for saying that, but this film was not any better than the first one, and it had a lot of problems that really annoyed me. So here are the bad qualities in the story of this movie. It's awful in just about every way. There are no plot threads in a film that are resolved in a satisfying way. The animatronics that you're familiar with, they barely get screen time. In fact, most of the screen time goes to the toy versions of them, like that you're familiar with in the second game, or this mime thing called the marionette that literally just looks like a Harley Quinn doll with all the mime makeup and stuff. The climax was lame and lazy, and literally just a minute long, and there's like 80% less of the stuff you're familiar with in the first film that people did like in the first film, and too many wink to the audience moments for fans of the game. And one of the worst endings of this year. Like, guys, once again, the ending was probably one of the top worst parts of the film that really made the film bad. There's no tension through the film. It leaves jump scares cheap and empty. Its horror label long gets unfulfilled. The storylines are just strung together into one entire ball. Odd subplots are just start and stop, and never with a true conclusion to either of them, because this film feels so rushed and lazy. It's like they kind of just made this to get this done so they can just get more of these films made. And the previous film, even the previous film had more good moments and designs, but it was just a mediocre film. It wasn't terrible, but I was willing to still give the series a chance because this was the first installment. Maybe this would get better. You saw what happened with the first Sonic film. The first Sonic film was just a good movie. Not a phenomenal masterpiece, but a good movie. The sequels got better. But that's the thing, though. Sonic at least knows its target audience, and is at least a family-friendly franchise from the start. And he knows something. Even Sonic's not afraid to go dark sometimes. Sonic 3 wasn't afraid to go dark, and they're planning Sonic 4 to be even darker. So there's a difference. This movie could have it went for a more mature crowd, but they didn't. It doubles down itself, and it falls into the category of horror cliches, blandness, and boredom. Production display just feels bland and cheap. Many of the sets are unrealistic and unnatural. There's lame camera work and poor presentation. The animatronics are, at least the toy version of the animatronics in the first film are still well made, but the color designs are the best aspects in their movements and sound designs. But they're not given full justice because the original version of themselves literally just remain defunct throughout the entire film, and then they come alive in the climax, and then they defunct again by the end of the movie. And they're not given full justice because the writing is predictable, and it's filled with cliche tropes and poor development. And the sequences feel lackluster, messy, and rough. Many decisions that were made and themes explored felt undeveloped, rushed, and even convoluted. So how do we start off the film? So the opening scene was actually kind of unique. It seemed like it was off to a great start, where it kind of shows a flashback to when the pizza place was actually more active, and a backstory of William Afton and stuff, like what he was up to before he encountered the main characters in the first film. So it's 1982, and this kid named Charlotte witnesses a boy being lured to the back room by William Afton. She tries to plead for the families to help her, but the adults... One of the other bad things is that the adults in this scene were stupid. A girl's trying to report a kidnapping, and they're basically telling her, no, not now, we're busy with this birthday party. No, get out of here, go away. Hey, go away, get lost. How fucking stupid are you guys? This little girl just saw a boy be kidnapped, and she's probably trying to get your attention. Don't you think maybe there might be something going on if she's acting like that? Are you guys as dumb as the people of Springfield, as the people of Bikini Bottom, as the Amity Island citizens of Jaws 2? Wow! In fact, that just had me rooting for the honestly, that just had me rooting for the animatronics. Near the finale. By that point. Right there, if you guys are that neglectful, like, how does nobody else besides a kid see this? So she goes in the back and sees Afton trying to murder the boy. She tries to rescue the boy, but Charlotte is stabbed in the back by Afton as she reappears on the main stage. And a scream of anguish gets directed at the customer. She falls and dies of her injuries. And then this puppet animatronic called the Marionette holds Charlotte's corpse. And after that, the location shuts down. And it's kind of all their faults. Maybe if they had put what they were doing down and paid attention, maybe this shit wouldn't have happened in the first place. But a new location opens up shortly after, though. So yeah, here's pretty much what this movie is. The animatronic somehow gets out into the world and breaks into people's house trying to kill the parents. Toy Chica, who ends up becoming a science fair project for one bit. Old animatronics just killing the toy ones to become the heroes. What's next? Are we going to make Freddy Fazbear run for the election? Are we going to make him the mayor next? Surprised they don't just do that stuff next. They had the first one, they had them build a fort. Now in this one of them's becoming a science project. And they're able to get out of the pizzeria, apparently. What other goofy shit with these guys are they going to do next? The performances were really bad. Like Josh Hutcherson, Matthew Lillard, some of them are trying, but their talents are wasted. And that's the thing. There are actors in this movie I like. I like Matthew Lillard as an actor. I like Skeet Ulrich as an actor. I like Wayne Knight as an actor. I like all three of them as actors. Wayne Knight, I liked him in the first Jurassic Park. I liked him in Basic Instinct. I like his voice acting in Toy Story 2 Tarzan. I liked his performance as Newman in Seinfeld. Yeah, like, the mailman neighbor of Jerry. Hello, Newman. Hello, Jerry. You know that guy? Yeah, I like that. I like Wayne Knight as an actor in a lot of stuff. Or, you didn't say the magic word. Yeah, like, you have a bunch of talented actors in here, and that's a major... And they basically waste them. Like, Skeet Ulrich, he's there for, like, one scene near the finale climax, and then he's just never seen for the movie again. Matthew Lillard is just there for paycheck flashback scenes, and just a obvious sequel bait tease in the finale. Like, the characters and dialogue are the worst aspects because the characters in this one are now just unlikable and bland. They don't really feel any of the horror engagement or energy, and you honestly care less about these characters. In this version, Josh Hutcherson's character was less interesting this time around. I didn't care much about the sister character in this version. She really didn't have much to do. Abby in this one really just comes off as unlikable in this movie. They don't try to have creative characters. They're horror cliched characters now written all over, and there's nothing even more interesting about them. Like, that's the thing. William's character was actually the interesting one of the first film. It was one of the best things about the first film, and this movie, he's in flashback bits, but they don't contribute. They're just there to really just set up the next movie because they want to make a third of these. And one of the least good parts was Michael Afton's plot point, the Michael character. Because he is barely seen, he's barely referenced, he's just there to be a reference to the game. And a critical part of you think he'd be a critical part of the film as revealed is going to mean something, but it never does. He's there for McKenna Grace's death scene, and he's never seen again until the finale. The characters need to carry weight, not just show up out of nowhere as random half-assed plot points, which were more confusing than anything, apparently because he ends up being the villain of the movie, but he's barely in the movie for 5 minutes. Like, seriously. And the female cop is mischaracterized as well. This one, I mean, she does try to protect Abby, but at some point, she doesn't really do much right there. And apparently, what else can I think of? So, let's just get on with how the rest of the film goes. So, the opening scene was kind of cool. And sadly, the rest of the film is not that great. But then it gets to the present time, when it takes place a year after the first film. The events of the first film have pretty much become folklore around the entire town, and it led to this festival called the Fast Fest Festival, where people dress up as the animatronics in the streets. And Vanessa is coping with the trauma from her father's acts, just trying to cope with them, and Abby is still fascinated with the animatronics, like the animatronics that tried to kill her in the first film. Yeah, the one she built the fort with, and then they later tried to kill her ass in the last one. A kidnapper. She still calls them her friends, and eventually is bullied and tries to repair the animatronics and discovers the absence of the souls within them. Mike eventually, when Mike finds her at the pizza place after a date with Vanessa, he gives her this keepsake, this talking toy called the Fast Talker, but also notices this pamphlet with a phone number of phrases they leave, pretty much a piece of paper that says murder on the fence. And then we get to our soon-to-be victims that are going to kick off the Marionettes intro. And the only scene you see McKenna Grace in the film, who plays one of these hosts, these paranormal hosts, along with 2 others. They go to the site of the 1982 incident, and they get accompanied by our Michael character, who is only in the movie for 5 minutes. And when they're exploring the area, Lisa finds this music box in the basement, and then it awakens the marionette possessed by Charlie's soul. the Carly girl clown doll that wakes up, and the marionette manipulates animatronic mascots, and it leads to the deaths of the 3 investigators. And then Ken Grace's character gets possessed by the marionette doll. And tries to kill Michael, but he escapes. Up until the ending when he sees him again. And then, of course, Abby. Later on, we get back to Abby, and when she uses the fast talker, she hears from our new Chica of the film, Toy Chica. Toy Chica then directs Abby to the original location and offered to repair her science project. Right there, and then, of course, then Abby shows her completed project to Mike and Vanessa, but then this gets Vanessa suspicious, and she's a little worried about Abby discussing details of location, especially Charlotte's murder. And then, of course, Mike, who gets informed about after calling Charlotte's father Henry, who is Skeet Ulrich's one scene in the film, which is pretty much sad to waste, you have 2 Scream actors in the film, and they basically waste them, who dismisses Vanessa's explanation, because he thinks he's still suffering from father's trauma. And the film, it's like, you can tell this film is trying to juggle the lore, the characters, the cameos, and the fan service moments. To the point where this just feels like a YouTube edit. Instead of an actual movie, there's no time to breathe. Scenes jump around or either just end abruptly. They have no tension, there's no payoff, there's no fear factor, there's nothing scary about the scares in this film, despite the cool-looking animatronics, but the movie doesn't really use them in creative ways. Most of the screen time for animatronics goes to the toy versions of them. The humor in this movie, not funny. It's poorly done, poorly sloppy. It was hard to take the film seriously, and the jokes just don't help. They take away from the fear that they could have tried to make viewers feel during the movie. And then you have the taxi bit from the first film that wasn't funny. They repeat that again. It wasn't funny the first film, and it wasn't funny in this movie either. Movie is a nice callback, but it has ridiculousness. Callback to the games, but there's ridiculousness to the movie that's hard to get past. This is a franchise from a film that took back because fans love the game series. Fans were hyped for the first film. It's the first film made to our million worldwide. This film takes a little bit more takes a bit more stuff from the games there. But the world we're put into this film feels way more fantastical than it does in the first film. This franchise is pretty much a simple point-and-click game that's literally come so far, and just takes several steps backward with the plot of the films. Is it really that hard for these movies to take themselves seriously? Apparently. That's the thing. My God. I'm trying to figure out what I can say, but Willy's Wonderland actually took the plot of this game seriously. That's not called 5 Nights at Freddy's, and that was more 5 Nights at Freddy's and more better looking than a lot of these films are. This is a film that you can tell is made for more younger teens. It's stuff. And, because that's the thing. The games were a lot darker than the movies are. And apparently they can't just stick with that tone, like Willy's Wonderland at least does. Right here. And you think they would at least try to add some gore if this is a movie. The games don't have gore. Fine. But these movies have more characters. So just try to add some gore. Try to be R-rated. And trying to glaze all this PG-13 stuff that was not enjoyable or worth watching. So after Abby shows Mike her science fair project, which is basically just a plastic replica of Chica, he drops her off at school, and he goes to visit Skeet Ulrich's character, distribute flyers about his daughter's murder, of course, and later Vanessa gets captured by Charlotte the marionette doll thingy, and then when trying to return to the original location, then of course, Wayne Knight's character, when he sees Abby's science project, you're too late to sign in, but I'll give you the credit anyway. Oh, let me see this project. Breaks it on the floor, ruins it. Okay, now get out of my class. Right there, because once again, this principal's a dick, or this teacher's a dick, really, which just has Wayne Knight wasted in a role. So Abby gets assistance from Toy Chica. Toy Chica decides to post the project that Abby inputs a code and allows all the animatronics to leave the area all of a sudden, apparently. And the animatronics start to explore the town, but not do much else, or before they can get any kills, they're just abruptly stopped. And Toy Chica then accompanies Abby to the science fair. And then Mike finds out that Abby's school she's missing, despite the fact she was missing for a few minutes and then came back to the school. She thinks she's at the original location, goes there. And the animatronics then start to wreak havoc across the town. They kill multiple families and homes. And so Mike tries to stop the massacres and goes to the location to go stop the animatronics. And Vanessa goes through the town, takes them on like one by one easily. One attacks her car, she drives off, and she basically drives it and makes it crash. The Toy Chica and the marionette that's hiding inside, the marionette that's hiding inside Chica's chest compartment, they go towards the Schmidt home. Oh yeah, before that, Toy Chica and Abby, when they get back to the school, then Wayne Knight's character starts being a dick again. It's like, hey, is this a joke? Hey, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to this guy. So pretty much Toy Chica follows the teacher to this dark class hallway, picks him up and crushes his head. Right there. Pretty much this kind of crushes his head and kills him. And then she pretty much takes Abby home. And the marionette inside Chica's chest possesses Abby. Mike realizes all the danger. He goes back to the location from the first film and pleads to the children's souls that haunt location to help save Abby. Now, I've talked much about Toy Chica, so I'm going to explain the problem who they casted as the character. The problem that did bug me before the film even came out was that apparently some fool or idiot thought it'd be perfect. Hey, people! I know who can voice Toy Chica. Megan Fox! Yeah. Great, people. I'll never understand what fool ever thought Megan Fox could fucking act. She sucked in the Transformers movies. She sucked in the Michael Bay Ninja Turtle movies. She sucked in Expendables 4. She sucks in every movie she's in. She can't act for shit. She's a horrible actress and a horrible person. Both. Stop casting Megan Fox in movies. She can't act. When can you realize that? Well, she doesn't get too much lines in the film. Still was not great as Toy Chica either. Apparently. But apparently that was a great idea. Apparently somebody thought that'd be perfect casting for the character. The writing is all over the place, and it feels forced, like either this film wants to be more like the first film, the film tries to be all more scarier. The film then tries to be sometimes goofy with its dialogue. To the point where it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, the acting is phoned in and terrible, especially like in wasted talents of good actors. It comes like so bad. It makes these like entertaining moments just feel like shock value. And the film is 104 minutes, and this does not feel like 104 minutes long. And most of that is extremely sluggish, and it's just uneventful, so to the point where you can't really be invested in the movie. Like Emma Tammy, or Tamili, pronouncing her name, I don't know what it is. Is badly just trying to keep viewers awake who aren't fans of the games awake for this, with the predictable jump scares, but these all get tiresome. This marionette wasn't scary. The toy animatronic scares weren't scary. And whenever things finally do pick up in the final act, it's not enough because the film is way too quickly over. With the dreary storytelling, lack of tension. So, now we get on with how this film ends. So, Mike and Vanessa, after leaving the new location, they go back to the house. And the music box I was given it by Henry earlier, Mike uses that to put the marionette to sleep and free Abby from her control. Then the marionette is defeated. Well, for now. And Michael and all the other toy animatronics appear in their living room. And Michael, it turns out, Michael, guess what, people? He's Vanessa's brother. And apparently the son of William, and wants to carry on his dad's legacy. And so he has the toy animatronics kill Mike, Abby, and Vanessa, but the animatronics that tried to kill their asses in the first film, they're back. And apparently I know, they're possessed by the dead children souls, I know that, but these toy animatronics still tried to kill them in the last film. And apparently these guys are now heroes because they dismantled the toy versions of them, ripped them to pieces, which will be a satisfying moment for Five Nights at Freddy's fans, but this just feels anticlimactic. This just feels rushed. These guys were still evil in the first film, and apparently they're now heroes for like a brief bit, and plus they just dismantle again anyway. And they dismantle the evil toy versions of them, and then the Souls animatronics then fade away. Mike and Abby then decide to go home. And of course, but Vanessa tries to follow, but Mike's like, no, you stay away from us. You didn't tell us about your brother, so I don't want to talk to you ever again. And then basically they leave. And just as they leave, this is the fucking ending. The marionette somehow comes out of nowhere, comes back, and takes Vanessa and possesses her. The movie's fucking over! There! That is how this movie ends. Just like that. What, did they run out of money in the budget and decide, what else can we do? Let's stop the movie there. No, it's not fully over there because there's a mid-credits scene where these random people raid the first film's location to find some items for a haunted house attraction that's based off Freddy's. Because they discover this green rabbit animatronic that holds William's corpse and soul. I'm not too familiar with that one, so for those who are fans of the games, tell me what that character is in the comments below. Then the group leaves the room, and then the animatronic comes online, and then another post-credits that has this Henry voiceover, who's leaving a recorded message for Mike, explains his relationship with Afton as former business partners, and creator of the animatronics, and warns of the marionettes, and then the recording abruptly ends. So the ending just is an ending that's no ending, shuts off, then leads to a bunch of post-credit scenes either way. Either way, setting up Lillard's character's return for a third film. Yeah, will still get made because this is still going to make money. So a third film will still likely still happen, regardless if people like the movie or not. This will still be a decent success. It might not be as successful as the first one, but it will still be successful enough for a third one. So they'll probably do a third one very soon. But this is how the movie ends. The marionette seems to be stopped and all, but Mike's trust of Vanessa is shattered because she lied the whole movie, and he decides to be an asshole, cuts off ties with her, and of course the marionette somehow comes back, apparently is not dead, possesses Vanessa, and then abruptly, okay, no more movie, time to roll the credits, right there. And then William's body gets found by a bunch of random posing losers who are trying to set up their haunted house. And because Golden Freddy's spirit is no longer able to hide him, his eyes light up. And it hints he's going to come back for 3 and 4. That is the end! God, this abrupt ending shit. I hate this shit! This shit is lazy. This shit is not scary. It's cheap. It's not complete. It's not an ending. This movie has no ending. It doesn't know where it wants to end. It feels like they just ran out of money in the budget and just decided to just pick a random point to have the marionette come back, possess Vanessa. Okay, we need to roll the credits. We can't do any more. We can't film any more scenes. Yeah, you filmed 2 credit scenes. How about just make that the ending? Is it that hard to do? Stop doing this abrupt shit. Stop. I hate it when movies do this. This is an example of a lazy cliffhanger. And this was one of the worst parts of the film. That's what a bullshit movie is. Alright, so now do I have any good qualities with the film? Yeah, okay, I do. I mean, there are some Easter eggs that the Five Nights at Freddy's fans will like. The camera work was good. The puppets were the animatronics were cool. The audience was kind of fun. I'll admit that. The audience I was with was kind of funny with the reactions. I mean, the scenes weren't scary, but the audience reactions were fun. Alright? Like, I did like watching this with a pretty crazy, goofy audience that often reacted to the references. That I will admit that. That was kind of funny. Those were kind of funny moments. The audience was much better than the movie itself was. So yeah. If you're a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, you'll probably like it. You like the film, that's fine. I'm happy you do, if you're a fan of the games. But if you're not a fan of the games and you didn't like the first film, yeah, you're not going to like this either. I would just skip this if you didn't like the first film, because this is really no better. So in the end, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is in a void if you did not like the first movie, because this does not improve much at all. It repeats the stuff people hated about the first film, lazily tries to set up a massive franchise with a lazy, abrupt, cheap-ass ending that is inevitable. Anyways, that's it for my rant on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. If you're wondering Five Nights at Freddy's 2, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you weren't a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, but were hoping for this movie to be better, well, it's not. Unless you're not a fan of the games, I would avoid this too. If we're not going Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's 2 a 3 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up my review for Five Nights at or rant for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, whether you thought this was better than the first one, or whether you thought this was also just as bad as I thought, or worse than the first one, whether you are a fan of the games or not a fan of the games. Either way, tell me in the comments down below. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this rant. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.